In this video, we are going to cover three topics. We're going to set up some good file management. In this video, we're going to go over three main things. We're going to maintain good file management. We're going to talk about modeling in CAD. And remember, CAD stands for Computer Aided Drafting. And then we're specifically going to get into the example of additive solid modeling. So first, let's do some file management. Again, this is going to be specific for Mr. West class. Your teacher will tell you how to save or where to save if you don't have Mr. West. So the first thing I want you to do for file management for my class is go ahead and navigate to File Explorer. Click on this PC. You're going to go to the V drive. I know mine says U, but you're going to go to the V. It has a V at the end, which is our shared drive. Into the folder with my name, into the period that I have you. I'm just going to use period 1 as an example. Into your student folders and find your name. In there you should have an Inventor folder, which is where we're saving all of our projects for Inventor. And you already made a practice project folder, which was for our last videos. Now we're going to move into a new project, so we're going to make a new folder. And I'm going to call this number 1 underscore. In case you don't know how to do an underscore, it's shift and the dash tool. 1 underscore additive solid modeling. Okay, so what we work on in this first video is going to get saved into that folder. Every time I start a new project, I'm going to make a new folder for it and maintain good file management. So I got that all set up and ready to go. The next thing you'll need to do is open up Autodesk Inventor, which you should have on your desktop if you followed the previous videos. So go ahead and open that up. And it should, looks like I got 2 of them open. Should look like this. And remember to start a new file. We're going to go up here to the big new button or Control N on the keyboard. And then your create new file window will pop up. I'm going to stick in the English. And remember, we work top to bottom. So I'm going to go with my part file first. That's what we're going to start with. A standard inch IPT. Remember, IPT is the extension, and that is your symbol. And I'm going to hit create. And remember, once this opens up, the first thing I ever do whenever I start a new part file is save it into that new folder that I just made right here. So I'm going to save it in there to maintain good file management. And then I will periodically save throughout the project as I'm working on it to make sure I don't lose any of my work that I'm doing during the project. So I'm going to go up top up here to File and then Save As. And then what I'm going to do is navigate to my student folder. So you have to find that V drive. Should be somewhere down here. You'll probably see it down there. You're going to the V drive, D West, the period that I have you, student folders, your name, Inventor, and then we want to go into the new folder that you just made. And we're going to call this one the name of the project, which is Additive Solid Modeling. And I'm going to hit save. As soon as I do that, you'll notice the name is going to change up top here in a second. And it also changes down here on the bottom where it can switch between multiple projects that I have open. So a little bit of a review there. And just to kind of reiterate the file management and just how important that is that you're doing those steps every time we start a project. Alright, so let's talk about solid modeling. Solid modeling is a 3D CAD process. Remember, CAD, Computer Aided Drafting. And there are 2 different items I want to talk about. There's one called wireframe and there's one called solid. So you can see the difference. Wireframe is see-through, solid, you can't see through it. The wireframe does not give the viewer, a surface. It's see-through. You can see those back edges, and it does not provide, mask properties. So the wireframe actually are not solid models. Versus this, which is a solid model, it provides, surface area, volume, and weight. So those are two different types of modeling techniques, or I should say modeling areas. Let's talk about specifically two techniques called additive and subtractive. And there are two different ways that you can model in CAD, and we're going to be testing out both. And again, we're going to be starting with additive. Just as a little history here, they were also referred to as the Boolean operations back in the 18th century by an English mathematician. So, additive methods. It's when a three-dimensional object can be viewed as a combination of two or more simple forms. So what does that kind of mean in real-world terminology? It's kind of when you glue something together or join it or weld it or fasten it. You're adding items together to create a final product. That's kind of the background behind additive. And if you're having trouble visualizing that text, here's some pictures for you to explain it. So additive, you can kind of see how this L shape is added to this cube to get our final product. Or this top rectangular shape is added to the lower L shape to get our final product. Or if we break it down into even cubes, you can add all of those together. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to get our final product. So those are examples of additive modeling. You're adding parts together to create your final product. So what we're going to do now is actually test that out, that technique in Inventor. So the first thing we're going to do is create this sketch on the front plane in our Inventor file that we just saved. So to actually start this, we want to create a sketch. And remember, these are the steps to create a 2D sketch. We already did the save as, so let's do a 2D sketch on the front plane, which is your X, Y if I'm not mistaken, and we're going to start it at the 0, 0. So let's go ahead and do that. So let me go back to Inventor. I'm going to click, remember, left to right, click in the big 2D sketch button. My planes will pop up. And I'm going to start on the XY, which is my front view. So I'm going to click that plane, left click once and let go of the mouse. It will transfer me to a front view, which I know is true because you can take a look at the view cube. And then I can go ahead and start sketching. Remember, we want to start at 0, 0. So let's take a look again at that 2D sketch we want to make. So I'm going to play this right here as my 0, 0. And I'm going to snake my way around and go like this. So the first line I'm going to draw is straight up 1.5, over 1.5, down 0.75, over 0.75. And then when I go back down here, I'm going to reference my 0, 0 to figure out how far down to go. And then I'm going to close that off. So let's go ahead and do that. So line tool, again, left to right. So I did the 2D sketch. I'm going to go to line. Always start at 0, 0. Make sure you see the green dot. Left click on it once and let go. And then I'm going to go straight up. Notice that symbol that's popping up. That's indicating that I'm going straight up 90 degrees. And we said, and actually, you know what? I'm not going to type in any measurements right now. I'm just going to do a rough sketch. Watch what I'm going to do. I'm not going to even worry about the numbers. I'm just going to do a little rough sketch of that L shape. Kind of similar to what I saw in the picture. So all I'm doing is moving my mouse and left clicking once. That's it. Move my mouse, left click. Now when I go back down here, I want to make sure it snaps to this x-axis right here. So when you come straight down, you'll see your mouse stop, which is good. I want to snap to that. And then you see that perpendicular symbol, which is good. I want to see that as well. Left click, move my mouse straight over and go close it off at 0, 0. Now I'm still in the line tool, so I want to hit escape because I'm done drawing lines. So I have a rough sketch of my shape, but the problem is that this thing is not even close to these measurements that I need. So what I'm going to use now is the dimension tool to dimension my object, which is the next step in creating a 2D sketch. So I'm going to go dimension up top here, and then I'm going to start with this line. I'm going to left click once on that line, move my mouse out, left click again, and I'm going to type in 1.5, enter. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and add a dimension to this line, which should also be 1.5. Type that in, enter. And what else do we got? Let's go with this one. That should be 0.75. Enter. How about this one? This one should be 0.75 as well. And now I have all the dimensions I need. Remember, the way that I know that is all of my lines are purple. I have a pin on the sketch, which means fully constrained. And then the third way, which I didn't talk about in the last video, it also says it down here on the bottom. It says fully constrained. So I'm going to hit escape to get out of the dimension tool. So I hit escape on the keyboard. And I think we're good. So I'm done with all the dimensioning. So the next thing after I dimension, I finish the sketch. So I'm going to hit finish sketch up here. And then now we need to turn that object from a 2D sketch into a 3D model. And if you remember, we use the extrude to do that. Your question is, well, how far do I extrude it? Well, that's given right here. You got to go 0.75. So I'm going to go extrude. And the distance that I'm going to go is 0.75. And I'm going to hit enter or OK on the screen. So I now have a 3D object like we saw in this image here. And we did some practicing with sketching and extruding again. Now here comes the additive method. What we're going to do now is add in that missing 0.75 by 0.75 cube. So to do that, if you take a look, they do a 2D sketch on this front face. You kind of see it outlined in red. And they make that sketch start at the 0, 0, and they draw a 0.75 by 0.75 cube. Then they use the extrude tool to extrude that out, and that is using the additive method to create a final product. So let's go ahead and do that. So again, left to right, we're going to start with a 2D sketch. Now this is something new. We have a 3D object, but we want to sketch on this face, which is the front. So I'm going to click on that. And I am now sketching on that front face. Remember, panning, hold the mouse wheel down and move your mouse, allows you to pan, roll it forward to zoom in. And to make my life easy, I'm going to use the rectangle tool instead of drawing all these lines. So I'm going to use a 2-point rectangle. So this is a new tool. So click on the rectangle, and then if you notice down here in the bottom corner, it's telling you what it wants you to do. So it wants you to pick a corner of the rectangle, and remember, it's at 0, 0. So I'm going to left click once. I'm going to move my mouse. Now, in order to switch between the dimensions, we need to hit tab. So first I'm going to type in the width of the cube, which is 0.75, and then I'm going to press tab on the keyboard. That will tab to the other dimension. So tab, and then the height of the cube is also 0.75. And I'm going to hit enter on the keyboard. So now I've created a fully constrained cube, 0.75 by 0.75, and I know it's fully constrained because of the purple lines and the sketch has a pin on it. Now I'm still in the rectangle tool, so I'm going to hit escape to get out of it because I don't want to draw anymore. And I'm done with my 2D sketch, so I'm going to hit Finish Sketch. And then the last thing I need to do is extrude that out. And again, this is the additive portion. We're doing additive modeling in Autodesk Inventor. So I'm going to extrude that, and again, that is also a distance of 0.75. So I'm going to hit OK as long as that's good. And I now have my finished product, and I completed the additive method to create this 3D model. So what I would like you to do now is go ahead and screen clip this in to your additive modeling page in your OneNote binder so I can give you a grade. And then the other thing I wanted to also just quickly talk about is your browser. Take a look at what it did. When you hover over these different objects, you'll notice that it becomes highlighted or kind of white dashed lines. So you can see the first thing I did was this extrusion. Well, if I go over here and click this little arrow, it pops it down, and then, oh, look at that. It shows me a sketch that I originally made to create that extrusion. Same thing with this one. Here's that extrusion. Here's the sketch I made to create that extrusion. So again, the model browser is a way for you to see everything that you've done in a model. And it also allows you to go back and make corrections. So let's say you made a mistake on one of these dimensions and you needed to go back and fix it. Now, you don't have to do this with me, I just want to show you. So I can go back into this first sketch of this extrusion by double-clicking on that icon, and I can make a change if I needed to by double-clicking on a dimension and changing the number. When I hit Finish Sketch, it will automatically update and make that change. Again, if you need to go back into the sketch, you can make changes by simply going through the model browser and making those corrections by expanding the extrusion and going into the sketch. The last thing you should also do is save. So I'm going to hit Save, and it is now saved that Finish Additive Solid Modeling into my folder. And again, I would like you to screen clip this into, so just screen clip. I want to see the browser and the model. So screen clip that into your additive solid modeling page in your OneNote binder.